You're listening to Spainfully Honest, the podcast where Paul
and me, Catherine, talk about what it's really like living in Spain.
each week will share stories, tips, and honest conversations about life in Spain. Good, bad, and everything in between.
Whether you live in Spain or you're thinking about living, or you just want to know a little bit more, you're in the right place.
Grab a coffee and let's get Spainfully Honest.
Okay, hello. Welcome to episode 10. Episode 10.
Wow, double figures
Yeah.
already. That's zeros. And how many listeners have we got?
Thousands now. We now have thousands of listeners. We moved from hundreds of plays to thousands of plays. So thank you, everyone, for listening, for sharing, for all your shares on social media. People from all over the world, the countries. I can't believe how many countries. Obviously, UK, Ireland, Spain, of course, USA,
Loads from
Canada, Philippines, Denmark, Norway, everywhere. It's great.
Keep telling your friends. Really important.
Yeah, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. So I think 10% of people have subscribed so far, which is great. Thank you very much.
Doesn't cost you anything. This means you get automatic updates.
And when we have a new episode, you'll be the first to know.
Well, what about this week?
Yeah. Go and say hi to Millie first.
Oh yeah.
Hi.
Person sat there, Millie. Millie's my eldest daughter.
Oh. Hi, Millie.
Not you, Bill.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. Welcome. So tell us about your week. How are your stitches?
I'm down to half as many. I took half out. I went yesterday and they took half of them out. So half the stitches.
Yeah.
I used to be. The rest on Friday, then I'll be stitchless. Yeah, so that's good. And about that.
Was it her typing? Yeah, okay.
Well, I'm the biggest wimp there is, so yeah, it was a little bit. The thing that hurt the most was when she was trying to spray alcohol and she missed and got me on it. And that hurt quite a bit, so it looked like I was bawling in Benjamin. But I wasn't really, it was just I got sprayed in the eye by alcohol. But she wasn't very good, so I didn't mind.
Oh, dear.
And there's one thing we were talking about. What about the weather? I know we weren't going to mention the weather, but it's off.
You know I love a good mower about the weather. Yesterday was insane. So this is going out in like 2 weeks' time. So basically this is around when we had the heat wave.
It was a heat wave. Not a long one, but it was a...
Yeah, it was intense for sure, wasn't it? It was insane.
You know it's bad when you're looking on the app on whichever it is, Paul, and it says it's dropping to 32 and you think, oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
You know that it's hot if you're wishing for 32 degrees.
Yeah.
No, but that was... And it wasn't just... It was windy, which usually cools everything down, but it didn't. It was like, I walked out the other day, I was going to meet Millie on the beach, and I walked out the front door, and it was like, literally, somebody had a massive hairdryer, like blowing it on you at full heat.
Yeah. And
that was like, it was hotter outside than inside, because there was no aircon in the hallway. It was just so hot.
Yeah. You see, because when they have the heat, like the wind like that, they call it a heat storm. But obviously, some areas had them more intense on the costa tropical, so like the coast of Granada, and it's like Almuñécar, that kind of area. It was blowing palm trees down, blowing pools off people's balconies and terraces. It was insane from the heat. Yeah, and then usually then all this once it breaks, it's lovely. There's a breeze that comes in. Still a bit humid in this area, but other areas.
No, it was trying to put him
Yeah.
off. But it's staying inside, like that day when I walked to the beach. I didn't know it was like that outside because I was inside with the aircon.
I thought it was just me, not used to it again after all that time. Just come with the heat wave. So it's come back like at the worst time. Oh, yeah, I tried. Stayed under the, umbrella. So that's
And was it nice on the beach?
Yeah, it was, got in the
Apart from
sea
being
every 2 minutes. But yeah.
I'm going to attack my bee. That
Oh yeah, I got stung by the bees. Have you seen, big finger? It's the
big finger. She's not as upset as the bee. The bee is really upset.
So we just thought some states here, we get our own podcast and have a little chat about her life in Spain so far. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your life in Spain until now?
Yeah, that sounds great. So I moved over when I was 2 years old, when obviously parents, grandparents, as Lottie will have mentioned. And then I started like a kindergarten, primary school in a small town called Sufina in the countryside. I think I was the first English student there. I don't remember loads, just kind of grabbing onto a mum's skirt, not wanting to go in. And then, yeah, so spent like until I was about 13 years old there, maybe the primary. I went to secondary school in Saint Helier, which is where my dad worked, and spent, my whole secondary school, like GCSE equivalent there. Did social sciences, so, the same subjects as Lottie mentioned. Again, made loads of friends there. There was so many more students per year, like many classes per year. So that was a great opportunity to, kind of broaden, my friends.
Still quite away from home though, wasn't it? So that was a bit of an issue for us because you got a school bus, didn't you? You went from the school.
Yeah, so the school bus took me up at 7, got to school at 8, and then the school started from like 20 past 8 till like 20 past 2. So it's quite an early finish, which was, great. And then, yeah, I think when I turned 16, then I thought, maybe going to the same school as my sister would be a good idea. She was moving. So yeah, moved to kind of the town on to Las Claras, then in Mar Menor, and did social sciences and Spanish baccalaureate, but also an American high school diploma online that they offered. So during the day, doing the same as my peers, and then in the evening would do the American high school subjects and the SAT prep and all that sort of thing.
That's it. Because my son has the option, well, he's only 8, but he will have the option to do that as well. What was that like doing at the same time as doing your, what would essentially be your A levels, I guess, right? Doing your bachillerato.
Yeah, I think because I had, obviously it's kind of, well, my second language, but it's one that we speak at home. I think I found it perhaps, a lot less overwhelming than a Spanish student. I did like the intense version of it. So I think it was 6 subjects. You're supposed to space them out around 3 or 4 years, but because I got in, in the last 2 years, we condensed them into there. But I think overall, it was manageable. I think the way that it's all, the curriculum's based, they don't make you do things like maths because you've already done that in Spanish. So it's kind of a case by case basis, but I would recommend it. I think it was great to get, fill in the gaps in terms of essay writing. If especially he's wanting to maybe go to the UK for university or something, I think it teaches you those things. And also, the Spanish education system is quite, well, it was when I was there, quite paper and pen, whereas it gave me a lot of opportunities to explore kind of the online learning side of things, which was more what you do at university. And especially like during COVID, I'd already been used to doing that, so it's quite good. So yeah, overall, I would recommend it.
You know how many?
Oh, sorry, I was just on the big topic, wasn't it? Because we just kind of realised during the episode when your sister was on and my son was on as well, that was like, yeah, actually, they don't do much essay writing in school in Spain. They do like the comprehension or something. Like you read a text, then you answer the questions and stuff like that on the text. But there's not a lot of essay writing. So then that was something that Lottie struggled with when she went over to university. So that's interesting to know. So you do that, you have the chance to do what is it called? The American.
Yeah, the SAT exam. Yeah, so kind of, yeah, I think like A level, but in the US equivalent. So one of the subjects was preparing you for that. But along with that, you did learn things that were useful anyway, even if you didn't go on to the US. Yeah.
How many subjects affected you to area altogether, including the Spanish?
I think I wrote actually them down, the ones that I did, because there's quite a few. So I think like Lottie mentioned in the social sciences one, so economics, maths, geography, religion, Spanish literature, global history, Spanish history, so American history, economics with America. Like it was just different the way they taught it, so I had to do that one again. So T prep, philosophy, PE, English, and art are the ones that I recall.
Yeah, going on from that then, you then decided to go to the UK for university. How did that affect when you got there? Because the majority of people who would have gone A level were probably maximum. You've done 14. How does it affect your university education? done a different thing. Because usually when you go after A level, you tend to do university based on what you did at A level. 14 things. How did you?
I think the good thing about having such a broad, number of subjects that you learn is each one has its own teaching methods and learning methods. So economics to me was one that I really liked because you apply what you learn. And whereas with, say, history, it was quite, memorizing in the Spanish curriculum. So I suppose I didn't have this great kind of relationship with that subject, as memorizing alone isn't my kind of strong point. So economics, maths were ones that kind of I really, really liked. That being said, though, at kind of GCSE level maths, I was not good at all. And then, in that secondary school, and then in A level, it was, I think, just the support that you got at that school was a lot better. And so, yes, I think I was going into it a little bit, in the dark, but based off, what I did and that, I think it just made more sense. I also did some work experience in Gibraltar and Manchester over the summer, kind of before my final year. And yeah, just kind of the business world was something that I wanted to go into, I think, and explore. And I think sometimes, people really overthink what degree to study, but at the end of the day, like all the grad schemes that I applied to, they didn't require a specific subject. It's just that, you're able to learn something, apply it. So to kind of ease a bit of that pressure, because I think there's such a big pressure.
When you got to Durham, were you treated any different? Were you classed as first were you classed as a foreign student or an English student? Then were you treated any different when you were there, when you first got there?
Yeah, so in 2018, I went to Durham University. I had a kind of a double freshers week because they classed me as an international student in some ways. Although I was able, to have the tuition fees at the home students, because I was coming in from abroad, they wanted to give me, it was great really, kind of a integration with the international students. That was good. So I think it was a nice transition really. I didn't notice it being too harsh or too different or a culture shock or anything like that. Most of the friends I have now, actually, I met on that internationals week and then made more the week after. So it was great, really.
People who are thinking university expats, they need to know how they're going to proceed and what they need to do. Because they will be educated unless they go to internationals.
Yeah. I think I was thinking about this actually, and you're right, the personal statement that you write to get into university. I think in the UK, there's a lot of extracurricular activities you can be involved in, societies and things at schools. Whereas in my experience, in this region, we didn't have, all that. There was the sports you could do, which obviously that is great, but I'm not very sporty.
So 14 subjects. It's having time to do anything else.
So I got that Saturday job, wrote at DFS on Saturdays, which was great for the personal statement. And then, those into like the work experiences. But I think given Spain's, highly, focused on tourism, I think a summer job or something's great to kind of add into that and fill that gap that perhaps someone in the UK will have more opportunities to do within their school and extracurricular. Yeah, even volunteering at, there's dog shelters, charities and things. All that's great. I do some volunteering now and like the skills you can then apply to, a personal statement or something would be, great.
That's brilliant. Where do you volunteer now?
Great Ormond Street Hospital for kids. Yeah, it's great. But as I say, something like that here, those transferable skills you can write about, I think would be really valuable.
Yeah, work experience in Gibraltar.
Yeah, so that was great. It was like an investment firm through family. Looked like, I was quite lucky to have that through them and helped host corporate golf event, things like that, just helping out.
But so at what point did you, in your studies, did you think, I would love to go and study university in the UK? At what point did you decide and why do you think that you wanted to do that?
I think it was the year before I finished. Actually, I found a diary yesterday under the bed from then when I was like, I'm really not sure, where to go, what to do. But I think when I decided to do business, had a look at the universities around in the UK, in the US, in Spain, just made the most sense. I was able to get, the tuition loan for the UK, a fraction of the price of, the US and things, which is what I'd been preparing to do. And Spain, obviously loved it here, loved the social life and everything. But I think the globally renowned degree that you get in the UK then opens doors to even if I wanted to come back here and or go anywhere else really. So I think it was a bit of a mix, very dependent on the subject that you want to study. Your son with archaeology, like Granada is incredible for that. I think just business in my circumstances, Durham felt like
Did you have friends at the time when you were here? How many of them first of all went to university? How many of them went anywhere else other than university?
I think the majorities are from my A-level school cohort. I think all of them went to university, mainly Murcia. Some went to Valencia, and I think that was as mainly. I don't know anyone else who went to the UK or the US from that school. Apart from
But were your friends Spanish then?
Yeah, mainly Spanish. There was about three English students who stayed here in Spain. So mainly.
How about you? Because my son was always very Irish kind of rounding. He was always kind of intrigued or curious about the idea of what it would be like to live in Ireland. He hasn't yet, but was that part of maybe why you wanted to go to the UK as well? You wanted the experience of living in the UK?
Yeah, I think it's valuable to have that time away and find your own place, find your own feet, meet friends for the first time, like by yourself, not just because you're in the same classroom school. It's kind of just based on your interests and what you like.
Did you feel like a foreigner when you first went, or did you feel like an English person? You read the language, not really any life experience.
Yeah, people were a bit shocked in that international week that I didn't have a Spanish accent, because I'd come from Spain. But I think it's the best of both worlds, really, because, speaking in Spanish with, my Spanish friends there that I made at university, it was, completely fine and felt like a Spanish person. And then speaking to English people, just felt like, they'd all assume I just came from Manchester or, something. So it's the best of both worlds.
That's great. I mean, that's a good thing to know, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you have got children here and you think it's like the two UK university, you don't feel like a foreigner when you go back to the UK.
There's an element that you can feel like a foreigner everywhere,
Yeah.
Like I always talk about how when you go back to Ireland, I don't feel completely Irish. Of course, I feel Spanish living in Spain.
Yeah.
And that thing when you feel like you're a little bit on the outside everywhere, But
Yeah.
different for you because you were so young here.
Definitely, yeah. I think being here, this is like all I knew, and having speaking English at home and things, you just kind of get the best of both worlds of the bilingual language. But I think even the foreigners at my university felt really welcome. There was acknowledgement of all cultures, so it was great. Really, I think everyone had a really good experience.
Did the international students that weren't English international students, if you see what I mean, the international students, did they get any special sort of treatment or lectures for their English?
Yeah, you could definitely have extra help. So like essay, like Lottie mentioned, she got the essay help, I got that, but you could definitely have more support. I remember we had a kind of an entrance exam sort of thing, just like quite informal in the lecture hall where we wrote an essay, and it was just to gauge kind of your level of essay writing. And but the thing is with business, even if you made mistakes in your writing and things, as long as you got your point across, that's all all that mattered. So it wouldn't knock you down, which I think was brilliant and very different kind of here. I think there's more the focus on the point and the kind of the theoretical concepts and the understanding of it. Yeah, there's loads of help. I remember I had the session with one of the tutors at the university. She read my essay that I'd done. I just wanted to kind of check it through with her. She could tell I'd come from Spain, like I was Spanish, because she said got the long sentences, like Spanish, speak in long sentences. She could tell. but it didn't affect, my grades and my marks. And then as time went on, you better with the grammar side of it. And you just get used to it, as I say. So there's that support at the start, and then you just get in the rhythm, I think.
So when you did your degree and you were getting to the point where you had to start thinking about your future, in your mind, were you always going to stay in the UK, or could we think you might go back to Spain, or what was the sort of process in your head of what you were going to do in the future?
I think I wanted to stay whilst I was there, stay in the UK. There was just a lot more, I think, opportunities for graduates as well. So yeah, it just kind of, to me, made the most sense. I loved it, in London and Cheshire. I was originally from Cheshire, so that really called to me. I had my first job there, and then London afterwards, for the other opportunity that I got. So yeah, definitely kind of wanting to stay within the UK as much as I could. And my friends were also staying, so I had that social network throughout the UK. So just, yeah.
Good.
So when you left university, then what did you do?
I went to Ireland for a little bit because I didn't have parents weren't in England. Some people, went home. And I did the same, went to Ireland, stayed with my granny for a bit, applied to jobs, just gave me that time to really, fully apply. And then a few months later, so the February after, I started my first job in Cheshire in Macclesfield, Presbury area. And that was a great first job. Like the culture, that company, it was great. They really just opened their arms to me, which was really great because I was moving on my own to back to the UK, to a town that I didn't know anyone else. Yeah, it was great. I think one of the things I love about England and the companies in England are, if you get a company with a really good culture, you'd be really welcomed and feel really part of. Yeah, like I'm really lucky. The 2 jobs I've had after graduation, amazing cultures, and it just makes a huge difference, like to your life. Yeah.
My experiences.
Yeah.
And do that by yourself and everything as well. Like really, really great experiences for you as a person, like to build your character. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
what part of Ireland did you say?
I was in Tullow, so Carlo with my granny. Yeah, Lottie's just done the same actually. So, just graduated while she applies and things. Yeah, yeah, just time, spent with granny as well.
Okay. After we did have the kids on the last time, we have had some questions from listeners. And one of them was, what do you think are the main differences between being brought up in Spain or the UK? And we know that you weren't brought up in the UK, but just if you have any kind of stories or any thoughts about on people you do know who were brought up in the UK, what do you think are the differences between being brought up in the UK and Spain?
Yeah, I think obviously, the most obvious, the weather, that really impacts your social life and what you do. So, and just how safe kind of it was in that little town in Spain. Yeah, so just kind of a lot of outdoor gatherings with friends and staying out till, anytime really. You just kind of felt safe, and your parents felt safe letting you go out. And I think just another area is the food, really. Like that's a huge part. I think I did a school exchange with a girl in Scotland, and that was like a real shock to me because we were used to like these 4-course, Mediterranean diet meals and salad, and you'd never see like a carb unless it's the bread or sugar. So that was a real shock actually. But I think it's great because, you just got exposed to so much different food and healthy lifestyles. I remember also like when I was in kindergarten, you'd have your naps during school, and primary school, secondary school, you'd have an hour or 2 in the afternoon to get home, have lunch, have a nap, come back to school. So that was like a big one. And socially, I think, just all kind of the outdoors. I'm not sure how your kids see each other in England with how dark it gets so early on, and going to shopping centres, I suppose. But, there wasn't all that. So you go to the beach or...
We used to meet, I had friends that they had kids, so we'd meet, but we'd meet in the pub or we'd meet in the restaurant, and the kids were fine. There was no issue with them being there, inside, outside, or whatever. There was no issue with them.
Yeah.
And I went back a couple of times with the kids and went to see people, and you were like, they did not want you in that pub with the kids.
Yeah.
They did not want you in.
Yeah, it's the same in Dublin. Like there's places where they just kids not allowed. There's places where they have to be out by, say, some certain parts of like pubs and things like that where they're not allowed to be in. They have to be in certain rooms. Whereas here, I guess as well because it's more outdoors. So people are sitting out on terraces and there's playgrounds nearby, and the kid. In fact, I think they do it on purpose. Don't they? It's like they put these playgrounds near it.
Yeah.
And supposed to now the families are going to be on the terraces. Kids are playing in it. Whenever you see, like you see these accounts on Instagram and stuff like that, where it's always like, when Americans move over to Spain or whatever, people in the UK move to Spain, and they do like little videos of themselves having a glass of wine, and it's like the park in the background. The kids are in the park, and we're having a glass of wine in the terrace. It's kind of like they love that thing.
I remember going to Murcia, and sitting in the cathedral square, and like it's probably totally wrong now, but you just said to the kids, "We're playing the square, but down by out of sight."
Yeah.
In the middle of a major city.
Yeah.
I wouldn't dream of doing that in Manchester.
I'm sure you wouldn't.
No.
It's just like the norm,
Yeah.
Kids running around.
Lots of kids, not just your kids.
Lots of kids, and you just say to them, make sure you can see this,
Yeah.
you'd have a drink. Well, probably
Yeah.
not good parenting, not recommending that, but that's how it felt.
Yeah.
And that's a big, feels like that.
You're not like drinking all the time. It's not like,
Yeah.
you
are alcoholic. Yeah.
look at glasses of wine at home.
Yeah.
Whatever,
Just like the kids' relationship then to alcohol doesn't become, this rebellious thing, you just kind of, kids don't really abuse it, and adults become adults, yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
They don't.
Like on Friday night, it was with the kids. It wasn't like I have to get babysit.
Yeah.
You were going out on Friday night, we're having a meal, you come back up on the book, and the kids would come back.
Yeah, or we'd sleep on the pool table, on some chairs, it was great. Like, it was just great to be kind of part of everything, and very different.
It makes you a bit more, alcohol acceptable. Not that you become an alcoholic. You don't have the stigma of alcohol because you're not like, you can't do that. You don't come in here. It's just normal. And so I think it stops binging. I don't like it.
It's just like the exact same thought. Yeah.
The kids here, you see them, and I see. We live on the seafront, and we live near quite an area, the Kerner it's called. You've got 2 or 3 bars. It's very rare to see drunken kids.
Yeah.
But the opportunity's there, but I just don't think we do it the same. I don't think there's that desperation to go out and get drunk.
No.
Which I had. I mean, I try and get drunk from like 14.
That 14.
Yeah, up the side, in the park, out in under the bridge.
It's more about just getting together, like, chatting.
I'm not saying everybody.
Yeah.
I think the percentage is significant. And it's because they're involved in that. It's not really, there's no stigma to it.
So, but what would you think because what would be better in the UK than Spain growing up? What do you think might be better growing up in the UK than Spain?
Perhaps like the extracurricular things that you get to do, but I think that's obviously because you're limited in what you can do maybe outside of school when it's so cold and dark. But I don't think there's many, I think Spain does offer you a great kind of upbringing and childhood and overall like food, diet, lifestyle.
It's probably better on PS3 and stuff.
This is it. Yeah. I don't know why my brain went. I know the food is lovely in Spain. I love it. But there's certain things that I love. That bread. I much prefer the bread.
Yes, when Iceland.
bread. Sliced bread, because it is delicious fresh bread. But like the sliced bread for a sandwich, that's toast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when Iceland opened first English supermarket here. Gosh, we all just like ran to it. And then just the odd thing like chocolate, like Cadbury's chocolate and the bread, I think, and that sort of thing. So you can.
Good things from everywhere, isn't there?
Well,
That's what I call it. I mean, the problem is if you try to stick to cost, it's all the importance. Now, if you went and did your full shop, and certain times of year, like business East and things like that, they just give me this way. Especially, I went in the other day for malt vinegar because it's hard to get malt vinegar. They've got actually, give them a little bit of a name drop. They've got Morrison's in now.
I mean, it's the tea pipes.
Yeah, it's just those staples, isn't it?
I think we'd be dealing with sorry Spanish people, but couldn't be dealing with the Spanish tea bags. Seemed like 6 to make one cup of tea.
You got the tubs in, the roses and all that. Ready for Christmas in August. I'm waiting to see the tin, so I can't wait. We've had a guest question.
Another guest question.
Right. This is from a lady, I think. She's American, not sure. This is a question. How long do you think it took before you got used to the language in the school? So this is so when you first went to school at the age of 3 or what? When did it become sort of normal? When did it feel that it was, that would be the same to any young kid going to school.
Yeah.
But, when you went effectively the first student in school, when did it sort of just feel like that was just the norm?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't remember. I think if I'd have struggled, I'd probably remember a lot more of like that. But there's just the odd thing I remember saying to my mum, like, "Oh, I tried this drink today. It was called agua, but it tasted just like water." Things like that. So I think that was like the first few weeks, just kind of getting to grips with actually other things are called, other things really. Saying the odd thing wrong. Like I remember one time I said, my arm smells rather than my arm hurts. So my teacher looked at me a bit like, and, I think I like fell over or something, bruised myself. But that was just, I think the first few weeks, they were the only two like memories that I have really from that age. And then
So similar.
Willie and Willie, my teacher, I was so puzzled why my teacher just didn't care. Or she maybe like smelt my arm or something. I was like,
That's a weird way to make it feel bad.
yeah, they're the only two things really. So that was great. But I think, if you're sending kids there at an older age, there's even in like the public system, they have this class called Apoyo and they help with the language and things. It is a bit harder, but getting perhaps also a tutor at home to help out. I think there are ways around everything. I've had friends that came in a bit older than me and did, really well. So there's, both sides of it. I think, yeah, beneficial if they're as young as possible, but there's always a way around it.
But
Yeah.
because you were the only one, definitely in your class, or your age group, your friend would have been Spanish, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
By automatic, as
Yeah.
with all the.
Yeah, when I was a little bit older, about 6 or 7, I think there's quite a few more English students, and I did group myself with them for a bit of time, and then went back.
It's funny, isn't it, how you sort of gravitate towards the more international students? Jamie was exactly the same.
Yeah. From I don't know really what it was like.
Something about them that's like me.
Yeah, and then just kind of then immerse myself back into the Spanish friends. So yeah. And I think more and more in schools now they're integrating English a lot more. So like the bilingual subjects and things like that. So even if you do come at a bit of an older age, there is that advantage there with certain subjects. And I think it's something they'll continue to kind of develop further. I was speaking to like my nephew Pablo the other day, and he was just saying that the pressure on getting those English certificates and things to be able to then get a job and that. So you do have that benefit there, I suppose, as well, going forward.
Tip would you give to somebody, I guess in this instance, to be like, well, in this instance, I think from the questions we've gotten, it's like there are people that are worried about their kids coming across and maybe coming to school in Spain. Just moving to Spain in general, maybe about friends or just fitting in. So is there any tips that you might be able to give people who are moving over that you think might help them?
I think depending on the age of the child, I think just ensuring you've got the right things in place, like assessing their education quite closely and that sort of thing, just whatever you decide to do. I do think in my experience, the public system was great because it embedded you into the culture. You don't have international students coming and going. You have like that stable kind of network of friends and their families. And Spanish, what they're like, they just kind of bring you into their homes. I was like the second child to, most of my friends' parents. So
it's lovely like that. Yeah, that's so nice you said that because it is so true.
Well, they like the fact as well that you speak English.
Yeah.
So they put pressure on that.
It's my child in English.
Yeah.
But it also helps you from the Spanish, knowing one from the previous podcast was having Spanish friends so important.
Yeah, so having some Spanish friends, whether it's international school or public school, and then just that thing about, if you do want to go then to university in England, about getting that extracurricular thing in some way or another if you're in a public school, whether it's through, sports or volunteering or, as I say, like tourism jobs. There's a lot of those contracted jobs for the summer and things, because one thing about Spain is you have like eternal summers, which are amazing. But yeah, you know, it's kind of just filling a few of those gaps that perhaps, you know, the 6-week summer holiday in England, you know, they don't have that. So just bridging those gaps in ways.
So we finished it. Thank you.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Very articulate young lady and loads of great tips. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Spainfully Honest.
And don't forget to subscribe or follow, depending on the platform you're listening on. So the button should be down here somewhere, whether you're on YouTube, subscribe, or Spotify, you can follow us. So somewhere down here, you've got a follow or subscribe button. So please click it. It really helps us to grow the audience so we can help reach more and more people who want to find their home in the sun.
It doesn't cost you anything, just to get more and more viewers. It pushes up the rankings.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much.
Thank you.